We are live. Welcome to Tonight in America. I'm your host, Dontarius Jones, and we have an exciting show tonight for you. I want to welcome you back here on this Friday, January the 16th, 2026. We have an exciting show tonight for you. Well, it's a little slow news week, you know, besides the chaos that's going on in the streets. So, as you can see, I'm in regular everyday attire. This is what I look like on an everyday basis when I'm not wearing the suit for the show or I have my hair done. So tonight we're talking about Trump's pretty much desire to acquire Greenland one way or the other. So I'm pretty sure you've seen the news for like the last couple of weeks or so, where Trump has talked about it, not in links compared to all the other stuff that was going on with the Iranian protests, the ICE shootings in the streets, the toppling of the Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro. Trump has mentioned repeatedly that he wants to acquire Greenland. Well, basically, he either wants to acquire it diplomatically or we will forcefully take it over militarily. So, as many people are probably not happy about that knowledge, I could understand there. You got your anti-interventionist types, you got your Democrats, your progressives that sit here and say that's a bad thing, it's a horrific thing to the people of Greenland. Why are we taking away their sovereignty? Why are we trying to impede on them trying to free themselves of Denmark already? Because they're still under the country of Denmark. They're still underneath their original colonizers. And they are fighting to free themselves from them. And now the United States wants to jump in immediately right after Greenland frees itself and acquire Greenland from Denmark. So, and for people to realize like how big Greenland is, Greenland is roughly like as big as pretty much Alaska and Montana combined. It's a population of 56,000, nearly the same as Carson City, Nevada. So it's not really that big if you look at it like on the map, which I will pull up here for a moment for you guys to look and see where exactly is Greenland on a map and how far away is Greenland from, say, one of our adversaries that we're one of our adversaries that we're very much in high competitive market with. You know, we're not in military combat with none of our enemies as of yet. This is basically like a Cold War 2.0. Let me see something right quick. Is the stream gone? I know we're live right now, so what the hell's going on right now? I just switched the scene. Apparently something happened on my YouTube to where I switched the scene and you guys can see me right now, I believe, but yet my loading screen is, my lobby screen is still playing. What the hell just happened? Am I having a mouth? Is this shit acting, bruh? What is going on right now? Why is the scene not changing? Give me 1 minute. Let me see what's going on right quick, just to make sure everything is fine. Cause I got my phone right here playing before we jump into the show. Why is it still on this? Hold on 1 second. Make sure everything is good on my end. Yeah, no one can see me. What's going on? Uh, so now it's just not catching up. Okay. So it's just not catching up. So forgive me right now if you're it's a lot of lagging right now. Let me check to see if the audio sounds good. All right, so everything's good. Just want to make sure checking out everything on my end to make sure everything's swell. Hold on 1 second. All right, everything checks out right now. So I lost my train of thought right there, but I'll just go ahead and start over. So we're talking about Trump's desire to acquire Greenland. And like I said, one way or the other, either diplomatically or militarily. We can colonize them, or they can come to the negotiating table and just willfully give the United States what it wants, which is to grow the global empire. So that is exactly what has been Trump has been said since he's come back in the second term. And really, you can go as far back as his first term because he's had the desire to get Greenland even then. So we've had multiple times when we've tried to get Greenland. Let me pull up my notes right quick. Yeah, so we've had multiple times when we tried to acquire Greenland, and most times it never works. And most times we didn't. It didn't fall through. As you know, far back since since World War II, really. If we go further back to that, when the Nazis invaded, when they invaded Denmark, of course, as you know, the famous story of them invading Denmark and them conquering and taking it over for a period of time. That was when the United States government stationed some of its troops there after the Nazis were defeated and came to a pretty much like a thought in the back of their head to where they want to acquire. What if the United States acquires Greenland itself? What if we sit here and basically make it a part of the United States, which we technically already have because we've had soldiers that have been stationed there after the World War II. Pretty much we've had soldiers stationed there. And then, there's a lot of like historical reports about the fact that there's, a lot of the Greenlanders, Greenlandic as they call themselves, and then Denmark politicians have wanted the United States government, basically the military, to get out of Greenland, but they can't really necessarily tell us to leave because we can station there if we want to. And now with this full desire from the president to sit there and basically take the country by force or diplomatically, of course, they're not really left with much room, much wiggle room, pretty much. And then you also got to look at the fact that Trump did just topple Maduro. So in the back of a lot of their heads right now, they are probably scared. And then Trump's rhetoric has been increasing lately about his desire to acquire Greenland, and the people of Denmark and Greenlander officials have been worried about this fact that Trump's rhetoric has been increasing to the point where they're even saying that if Trump invades Greenland, that all the other NATO members will come to Greenland's defense and NATO would disband. Well, of course, if you're going to look at the full context, if you look at the scope of like NATO's relationship with the United States, I don't at all believe that's even going to happen. That's not even remotely close to being the truth. So let me be completely honest. NATO, all of our partners in NATO have more to gain by being partners of the United States and besides just being against us. Now, of course, would I put it past them to possibly want to consider working with China and Russia in case we were to militarily acquire Greenland? Look, I'm a realist, so I'll give you a realist take. There's a possibility they might have cold feet, and then they might get to the point where the back of their minds, they might be considering turning on the United States at a given moment because they see how we treat their allies. Especially when we consider to Venezuela, even though Venezuela wasn't an ally, it was always been an adversary against the United States, especially considering that we've had sanctions on the country for so long, and we've always looked at Maduro as a non democratically elected official president of the country. We looked at him as like a non-elected ruler, because it's dubious how the way the election went, and then also it's dubious about how the way that he treats his political opponents right afterwards by jailing them or exiling them from the country. So you can look at those key details right now, and you can come to the conclusion that that's why the United States went after Maduro and why they conquered him. Now, when it comes to Denmark, it's more of a strategic benefit why we want Denmark. The main reason why we want Denmark and why we want to acquire it is because if you look at where Denmark's at not Denmark, Greenland actually, why we want to acquire Greenland, and you look where Greenland's at on a map, they're in the Atlantic Ocean. And if you look exactly a little bit far off to like where I'm pointing right here on my right, if you can see on the camera, if you look off on the map to the right, depending on which map you're looking at, Russia is also not too far from where Greenland is at. So the United States wants Greenland for military strategic benefit mainly, because they realize, like, say if we were to hypothetically get to a conflict with Russia, the missiles would fire from Russia, but they would be but you could be able to see them a lot closer and easier from the shores of Greenland, the little small island. So that is exactly why the United States government wants Greenland. And then also you got the minerals, you have far other benefits too, besides just that. We have more Americans we're the Greenlanders right now, but if we were to accept them and bring them onto the fold, they would become Americans. And then basically it would be kind of like the Alaskan purchase. It'd be like the American purchase. It's going to be in the range of like $1 billion to $1 trillion, because it's not going to be cheap to buy Greenland if we were to do it that way. Now, militarily, that's different. Again, some experts have already spoken out against that, say that there's liability it's not beneficial to do that, because like it's going to show the United States in a bad light. But if people want to sit there and like compare between what's better, because you look at what Russia did with Ukraine, and then you're looking at what China is at some point going to do with Taiwan. They militarily invade and they militarily conquer, even though the war between Russia and Ukraine is still continuing. You know, there's a lot of analysts that sit there and say that if there's a war between Taiwan and China, it's not going to be very long. Just like if we invade Greenland and militarily conquer them, that wouldn't even last as long as it would be either around the same time that it took to take down Maduro, or it would be like an extra hour maybe. So there's that. But anyways, I have a good video for you guys to look at right now. Well, we'll get into articles right quick, but This one right here, I have two actually. I have this: why why China wants Trump in Greenland. It's not what you think. And then we also have Forgotten History, the truth about Greenland, Forgotten History. These two videos right here, I want to highlight them because they're very important. They're very important to show you exactly why does the United States have interest in Greenland. And I'm gonna give you two different perspectives. One's an ideological perspective, and the other one's like more of like a realistic economics perspective on it. So I think I would probably start with Cyrus's video, maybe. Yeah, I'll start with Cyrus.
What if I told you the biggest geopolitical risk in 2026 is not Russia, Iran, or China? Sure, every day we're told these countries are America's enemies, but we now have substantial proof the biggest geopolitical risk threatening the future of our world is right here in America and actually lives full-time at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Oops.
Are America's enemies, but we now have substantial proof the biggest geopolitical risk threatening the future of our world is right here in America and actually lives full-time at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Donald Trump is threatening to take over Greenland, a nation under Danish control and a full NATO member. And if Trump goes through with this plan, it could fundamentally change the entire world order. Trump has made it clear the United States will take Greenland. And honestly, the rhetoric we're hearing out of the White House is unlike anything we've heard before.
But right now, we are going.
Also, if you experience like buffering issues, just restart the app and then just come right back, and then everything should be fixed.
To do something on Greenland, whether they like it or not. If we don't do it, Russia or China will take over Greenland, and we're not going to have Russia or China as a neighbor. I would like to make a deal, the easy way, but if we don't do it the easy way, we're going to do it the hard way.
So what is the hard way? And is the United States literally going to put U.S. troops on the ground in Greenland and use military force to take over the country? Why does Trump really want Greenland? And are Chinese and Russian ships really surrounding the island, posing a threat to American national security? As always, we're going to present the facts you need to understand the situation, but get ready to buckle up, because I found out the real reason Trump wants to take Greenland, and you won't believe how this story ends. Greenland is a nation that sits at a fascinating geographical position. It's located between Canada and the European Union, and despite its name, over 80% of the country is covered in ice. Greenland is home to only 57,000 citizens. Its primary industry is fishing, and the island is an autonomous territory within the Kingdom of Denmark, granting its citizens Danish nationality and passports. But Donald Trump wants to change all of that. His argument is that Greenland is geographically closer to the United States and therefore should be part of America. Just listen to Trump explain his thinking.
I'm a big fan, but the fact that they had a boat land there 500 years ago doesn't mean that they own the land.
So landing a boat on a piece of land doesn't mean anything. Does Donald Trump know how the United States was founded? I think the Native Americans would like to have a word with him on this matter. But surprisingly, many Americans are buying in and actually believe Trump's wild claims. Just look at this Twitter post from a popular YouTuber who states Greenland is located on the North American tectonic plate. It geographically is not European. Well, riddle me this. Hawaii is located on the Pacific tectonic plate. It geographically is not American. Does that mean a country like China or Japan can just claim it and overtake the island? Of course not. But that's essentially what Trump wants to do in Greenland. And it is downright scary for the future of our world. British officials have now met with Germany and France to begin preparations for deploying a military force to Greenland. And this is how crazy geopolitics in 2026 have become. Europe is preparing for an invasion from the United States, its largest and most trusted ally. But there are three main problems with Trump's plan to forcefully take Greenland, and I'm going to break them down for you in today's video. But before I do, I want to get back to my community as we start 2026. And honestly, there is no way we can make these videos without our amazing sponsors like Outskill, who is gifting all of you the chance to attend the #1 AI training course in the world completely for free this week. 9 out of 5, not specific to any industry, but is now to stay updated before the live training. But now let's jump into today's story about Greenland, because the United States is about to commit the greatest geopolitical blunder in U.S. history if it follows through and carries out Trump's orders. To understand the severity of the situation, just listen to what French Army General Nicolas Richaud said as he addressed the nation of France this week.
Le Groenland, c'est la ligne rouge. Donc je considère que si ils envahissent le Groenland, s'il se passe quelque chose au Groenland, ils ne sont même plus des adversaires systémiques, ils deviennent des ennemis.
Honestly speaking, it's incredibly hard to hear these words as a U.S. citizen. 80 years ago, it was the brave American soldiers who gave their lives on the shores of Normandy, France, to liberate the country from Nazi Germany. The United States and France have always been close allies. Don't forget, we are talking about the nation who literally gifted us the most recognizable symbol of America as a friendship gift, now viewing the United States as an enemy. Now, I know a lot of Americans could care less what French people think, and let me play devil's advocate here and try to make Trump's logic make sense. Last week, I made a deep dive video explaining Venezuela and how the U.S. government under Trump has officially changed its foreign policy stance. According to Stephen Miller, Trump's Homeland Security advisor, might makes right, and whoever is the bigger, more stronger force in the world should be able to take whatever territory or asset they want. That's a very dangerous precedent.
Look, there's a lot of truth to that, because like I get it from his standpoint that there are laws or whatever, especially like pertaining to like international law, but reality speaking, international law doesn't apply to 3 countries only, well, maybe 4: the United States, Russia, China, and Iran. So to sit here and say like, yes, and even Israel too as well, to a degree, I will say that, but let me pull it like this. There are economic consequences, and then there's like of course, he's probably going to make the law consequences of like invading, say Greenland from the law perspective and economics perspective. But here's the thing about it. From an economic perspective, you see what Russia did with Ukraine. They invaded. They have a bunch of sanctions on them from the UN and then also from the United States that are somewhat crippling their economy, but they still invaded anyways. And then you look at China, who's already has tariffs already put on it by the United States and is in the middle of a trade war right now with us. And we've had negotiations with them every time about lifting the tariffs, them coming to the negotiating table about like how could China help us benefit America more than we benefit China. And, for the most part, it's still ongoing for the most part between China and Russia, China and United States, because this, like I said before, this is a new Cold War. We're not in the war where we're putting boots on the ground and we're just losing lives on both ends. No, we're trading right now and we're basically having a battle of ideology. And which ideology would come out on top? That's exactly what's really going on right now. Instead of your basic like guns, tanks, bombs, head first type of warfare, the old guerrilla-like warfare. No, this is more of like strategic and more of like economic, GDP, more like dollar sign warfare. That's what's going on right now. So that's exactly what's going on right now. But that's the warfare front that is what's going on right now between United States, China, and even Russia too as well. Because the war right now that happened with China and Russia, with the war is going on right now between Russia and Ukraine is, sorry, someone's texting me on my phone while I'm trying to do my show. I'm trying to keep my thoughts together. But the point of the matter is that is a battle right now between basically because NATO promised to not expand on Russia's borders, but then during the Biden administration that got changed and then they were going to expand, which led to Russia invading Ukraine to stop the spread of NATO on Russian soil, because Russian soil to them is still Ukraine. Even though Ukraine got its sovereignty from Russia and got its independence, it's still technically considered, to Putin's eyes, it's part of Russian territory. So that's why the invasion happened in the first place, because there were broken promises. And then, as you know, after the invasion happened, everyone started putting massive amounts of sanctions on Russia, and they put a trade embargo on Russia to where, they're not trading or whatever. But that's where China comes in, and then China becomes one of Russia's big trading partners. Along with us, we still have some form of trade agreement with Russia, even under all these massive amounts of sanctions, including also with China too as well, because a lot of our stuff that we import comes from China. So there is a lot of truth to what he's about to say about this when it comes to like the law and economic standpoint about why it's bad to invade Greenland. Now, from an ideologically perspective, it's good because it'll grow the United States more, and we never really promised to not stop expanding. And militarily, strategically wise, it would be doing some good, because just in case there is a war on the horizon between Russia and China with the United States, we would damn sure make it very much easier on us if we did actually have Greenland fully under the control of the United States. So.
For the world, because hasn't the U.S. spent hundreds of billions of dollars fighting a war against Russia to save Ukraine and Europe? Putin has dreamed for years about destroying NATO. Let's not forget this was, and still is, the main reason Putin launched his military operation against Ukraine. But by threatening to invade Greenland, Trump might finally destroy NATO for Putin once and for all. But of course, Trump doesn't see this, and instead comes up with his own reason that justifies an invasion.
If we don't take Greenland, Russia or China will, and I'm not letting that happen. If we don't take Greenland, Russia or China will take Greenland, and I am not going to let that happen.
I've got a simple question to ask President Trump. Has anyone asked China or Russia if they actually want Greenland? The answer is a resounding no, as neither country has threatened to invade Greenland, nor have they even mentioned the word Greenland in terms of strategic national goals. This entire Russia-China narrative has been fabricated by the president to justify his annexation of Greenland. Once again, just listen to the French Army General speak the truth.
Militairement, c'est pas les Chinois, c'est pas les Russes, ce sont les Américains qui sont présents depuis la Deuxième Guerre mondiale. Alors qu'on nous explique pas qu'on a besoin de saisir physiquement le Groenland.
This is why facts matter when discussing complex geopolitical issues, especially when Donald Trump is involved. Because as the French general pointed out, from a purely military standpoint, there has only been one country involved in Greenland since the end of World War II, the United States. That reality exposes the first major flaw in Trump's argument for annexation annexing Greenland. It's built on a threat that simply doesn't exist. In fact, the Financial Times confirmed this, reporting that Nordic diplomats outright rejected Trump's claims of Chinese and Russian ships operating around Greenland. Russia is fully consumed by its war in Ukraine and has no strategic presence or interest in Greenland, and China's involvement is far more mundane than Washington rhetoric suggests. Beijing's interests are limited almost entirely to trade and tourism. China is now one of Greenland's largest trading partners, purchasing a record $377 million worth of fish in 2024. Tourism tells the same story, as more than 5,000 Chinese tourists visited Greenland last year, a record high. Despite frequent claims to the contrary, China has shown no active pursuit of Greenland's mineral or resource sector, and as it does much across the world, China's relationship with Greenland is simply commercial, not military. But this brings us to the second major problem with Trump's grand plan for Greenland, the assumption that Greenland's natural resources can be easily mined at all. Donald Trump is arguably the most effective marketer of our time. He has an unmatched ability to tell the American public exactly what they want to hear and getting people to buy into this plan. But marketing a vision and executing a strategy are two very different things. Behind the bold rhetoric, there is little evidence Trump's plan is grounded in economic or industrial reality. Last year, China did something that genuinely rattled Washington. It restricted exports of critical rare earth minerals and materials essential to nearly every advanced American industry, from defense systems to electric vehicles to semiconductors. China is currently the only country in the world capable of processing rare earths to 99.9% purity, the level required for high-end manufacturing. That reality explains why Greenland suddenly entered the political spotlight. The idea sounds simple. Greenland is rich in rare earths, so annex Greenland, extract the minerals, and free the United States from dependence on China. On the surface, it sounds brilliant, which is exactly why so many Americans bought into it. Most Americans can't point to Greenland on a map, but yet they were told it could instantly solve one of America's biggest strategic vulnerabilities. But there is one obvious question almost no one has asked. If mining Greenland were so easy...
Yeah, a lot of people actually don't know where Greenland's at on the map. I mean, like it's like literally above where Canada's at, actually, if you look at it. I mean, yeah, if you look at a map, I look at maps a lot, so I know where Greenland's at. So, but when you look at it, like where it's at, again, it's in the right position to where it's perfect, really, for us to really have control of it. Like, again, it's in the Atlantic Ocean. And from where I'm at, from where I look down this map right here specifically that I'm going to pull up for you guys shortly, Greenland is more of like this way. Like it's more of like on the right, like where the Greenland's not that way. Greenland's right here. Okay, say I'm Greenland, and then you go to the right of the Atlantic Ocean. On the vast seas of the cold Atlantic Ocean with a bunch of icebergs, you know, floating ice or whatever, you have Russia, not too far off in the distance. So Russia's that way. Greenland's right here where I'm at. And then you wonder why the United States government will want it, because like China and Russia also have interest in Greenland too as well. So where it's at militarily wise makes a lot of sense why the United States government wants Greenland. It's not, when you look at it from like a military strategic point, it does make sense. Now from an economic standpoint to this guy, it didn't from a law standpoint, you know, it doesn't make a lot of sense for him for why we should acquire it or militarily just take it over. But moral wise, yeah, I get it, because morally speaking, our allies would feel a lot different, because they look at us, they say we treat our allies like this or disrespect so much, and we could just easily take them over or just take them out of power like we did with Maduro, because we never even practiced out of power. But my thing is this, is that the American empire is still growing. The colonies, we never promised to stop colonizing. We never promised to stop growing big. You know, we never promised any of this stuff. We need Greenland for military standpoint. And for me, as it is an ideological standpoint, why we want Greenland, besides all the economic, and then of course they're going to say international law is broken. That happens all the time. Let's just keep it real. It happens with superpowers. Superpowers are going to break international law. That's just what it is.
Why hasn't it already happened? And here's where the facts matter. While Greenland has identified more than 1,100 potential mineral sites, there are only 2 active mines on the entire island and just 8 active mining licenses. If there were an easy fortune waiting in Greenland, private industry would have already been there. Capital doesn't miss obvious opportunities. Malte Humpert, founder and senior fellow at the Arctic Institute, puts it bluntly: the idea of turning Greenland into America's rare earth factory is science fiction. It's completely bonkers. You might as well mine on the moon. In some respects, it's worse than the moon. And he's right. Roughly 80% of Greenland is covered by ice, and operating in the Arctic can cost 5 to 10 times more than similar projects elsewhere on Earth. Most deposits sit in remote regions above the Arctic Circle, buried beneath a mile-thick ice sheet where darkness dominates much of the year and basic infrastructure barely exists. To put this in perspective, consider this. After the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed in Baltimore in early 2024, the U.S. government estimated it would take 6 years and $5.2 billion to rebuild, despite the fact that America built the Golden Gate Bridge in under 4 years, during the Great Depression, ahead of schedule and under budget, without computers or AI. So we're supposed to believe that a government struggling to rebuild a bridge can suddenly extract rare earths from one of the most hostile environments on the planet? That belief isn't optimism, it's fantasy. But this brings us to the third and most dangerous problem with Trump's Greenland strategy: country. What it would do to America's credibility and standing in the world. Because a troubling mindset is taking hold amongst many parts of America's political right. The belief that because the United States is the world's most powerful country, it can simply do whatever it wants. That power alone is enough to justify action. But this belief collides head-on with the very principles the United States claims to represent. For decades, Washington has lectured the world about democracy, freedom, and self-determination, the idea that people have the right to decide their own political future, which raises an obvious question that almost no one seems to be willing to ask. Have the people of Greenland actually been consulted? Well, according to The Guardian, the answer is clear. 85% of Greenlanders do not want to join the United States.
Now, that is important to also notice that, yes, this is what the Guardian had reported, that 85% of people don't want to join the United States. That's, of course, take that into consideration. Now, I have a video right here of some people that actually went on the ground to do their due diligence to ask the Greenlanders themselves instead of just conducting a poll. Okay. Now, again, this could interpret this like propaganda because it's Nick Shirley who went to Greenland himself and basically asked them, how do they feel personally? Ask the citizens that are actually living there, how would you feel about being part of the United States government? So he went to Greenland. He did his own due diligence of asking the people themselves exactly how do they feel about being part of the United States government. So
how do you feel about the United States potentially buying Greenland?
I don't want to be American. No more Danish.
Let's see. Oops.
How do
Things acting stupid right now. Okay.
you feel about the United States potentially buying Greenland?
Bro, what the hell's wrong on YouTube right now? YouTube's acting gay. But anyways, yeah. So Nick Shirley, as you can see in the video, one of these clips, yeah, he's about to start going around asking the Greenlanders how do they feel about being part of the United States. As you can see, one lady says, I don't want to be part of America, whatever. You know, you're gonna obviously have your people in this video that are gonna be like, we want our own independence, our own sovereignty. We fought for that to get free of our other colonizers. And then simultaneously, you're gonna have some people that are probably on Greenland that want to become part of the United States. There was polls also done in America asking Americans, do they want to be part of? I kind of don't like morning shifts, bro. I'm gonna be real with you. I don't like getting up in mornings.
I don't want to be American. No more Danish.
Trump cannot buy Greenland.
Is Greenland for sale? Today, I'm here in Nuuk, Greenland. I will be asking the Greenlanders here how they feel about potentially becoming part of the United States. Donald Trump recently has been very persistent about the idea of making Greenland part of the United States, saying that the United States needs Greenland for national security purposes. Currently, Greenland is an autonomous territory of the Denmark Kingdom. However, most recently, the Prime Minister of Greenland has said that he wants to seek independence from Denmark, making this situation even more interesting. Greenland has key trading routes in the Arctic Circle for countries like Russia, China, Canada, the United States, making Greenland a pivotal spot in the talks of geopolitics. And this is not the first time the United States has tried to buy or acquire Greenland. In 1946, after World War II, the president at the time tried to buy Greenland for $100 million. So it's going to be super interesting to hear the opinions of the people here in Greenland about becoming part of the United States. I'm going to make another deal with you guys. If this video gets to 10,000 likes, and it turns out nearly 75% of you guys watching this video right now are not subscribed, so go ahead and subscribe. And if we reach 350,000 subscribers, I will go to the Panama Canal. Now let's go talk to the people here in Greenland. How do you guys feel about becoming part of the United States?
It's good.
Would you rather be a part of the United States or Denmark?
United States.
And you? United States or Denmark?
United States.
What makes you guys excited about potentially becoming a part of the United States?
McDonald's.
McDonald's.
We want fast food.
Do you think it's just a power grab by Donald Trump trying to buy Greenland?
Donald Trump and Putin in one box, and thank you.
How do you feel about the United States potentially buying Greenland?
Greenland's not for sale. It's their own country, so it cannot be bought.
So is Greenland a country or a territory?
Today it's an independent country, but it's it's a part of Denmark today. But the law says it can be independent whenever they want to.
Okay, so it's up to the people of Greenland whether or not they want to be a part of Denmark.
Yes, it is. It is. But for now there are some economical problems by leaving Denmark totally, because it's a very expensive country to drive. Everything is expensive here, so they need some support from Denmark.
Do you think Donald Trump would be ruining the United States' reputation with NATO if he went against Denmark and bought Greenland?
To imagine an armed conflict between two NATO countries, that is not. I cannot imagine that. That's totally crazy.
Is Greenland for sale?
No, we don't want McDonald's here. He will take all our resources from our nature and just use it for money. Greenland is only for Greenland.
But you guys are controlled by Denmark.
in some part.
Are you guys worried about being invaded by the United States?
Kind of. Maybe he's just saying it to scare us, to make it easier to buy us.
And how much would you sell your citizenship of Greenland for?
No, I don't think you can put money. You can't put money on it.
So say you could have dual citizenships, you could be a citizen of Greenland and the United States. How much money would you need from the United States to give up your country, essentially?
No, because
We are not for sale.
and if we
They sound almost like Puerto Rico, because Puerto Rico doesn't have any independence anymore. It's a territory of the United States. You know, these Puerto Ricans sit up here and they brag about Puerto Rican nationality. Nick, your nationality is ours. Like, imagine this. Imagine you're like about Puerto Rican. You sit up here, you talk about Puerto Rican pride. You talk about Spanish pride. Bitch, we own you. You are part of the United States government. You are part of our territory. You don't even have your own sovereignty. What are you talking about? National pride. These Puerto Ricans will come up here and walk around here with the Puerto Rican flag. That's our flag, boy. We conquered you. We literally conquered you. Like, Puerto Ricans do not have sovereignty. They can't talk about this. This is the same. It's kind of like the same rhetoric like the Puerto Ricans. When I hear these Greenlanders talking about, like, they're not for sale, they have their own sovereignty, even though they're still technically a part of Denmark. They're not really broken off yet. They're fighting for their sovereignty, but they haven't been granted it yet. But imagine if they do, and then we go in there and we just conquer them, take their shit over. It did. They're talking about we're still Greenlanders no matter what, even though we got conquered by the United States government, and now we're Americans. You know, Puerto Ricans will sit up here and say they're Puerto Ricans. No, you're an American Puerto Rican. You have no sovereignty, boy. We own you. We own you. You know who you work for? You work for America. That's who. We own you, boy. That's how I would be if I was a president. I go to Puerto Rico. I just like, Puerto Rico's not even a real country, bro. It's a territory of the United States government. You're not a real country. Or our slaves. You go pick the cottons now.
get the money, he will get like
Kidding, of course.
the ruling of our country, and then he'll rule our country.
How do you feel about Donald Trump in the United States buying Greenland?
Well, I didn't know you could buy a country. You know, it's everyone talks about it. It fills a lot of the media here. And
Do you think it'd be good for Greenland to leave Denmark and become part of the United States?
I don't know.
What does Denmark do for Greenland?
I think they do support it quite a lot financially, and there's a lot of opportunities. You know, education. Young people get the opportunity to come to Denmark and get free education, which is crazy, right? For an American, that must sound mental.
I don't know if we're gonna beat that, but
No, you're freezing, huh?
yeah, I am freezing.
You need a hat. You can just borrow this. Here, take this. And I'll-
Sure. Look at
I wonder, say they get free education. I wonder what's the average IQ in Greenland right now. Interesting. You know, free education countries, they tend to always have the worst average IQ. So, but then again, they are mostly European, so that could be it could be proved to be better.
this guy. Look, dude, we should become citizens.
I wonder if are there any nigs in fucking Greenland? I don't know. It's very cold.
Become residents.
So you stay here, you stay-
Good or bad idea for Greenland to become a part of the United States?
USA and Greenland, I think it's okay. It's good.
It's Greenland for sale.
No, definitely not. And it will never be.
What if Donald Trump does buy Greenland somehow, some way?
He won't. Greenland is for the Greenlanders. And we don't want to be twice colonized.
And remember, these two girls, as we will talk to them later in this video, about how China has made their own attempts to gain territory inside of Greenland.
Do you think Donald Trump will buy Greenland?
No, we are not for sale, but understand him fully that he's protecting our right to self-determination. And he said he will tariff Denmark if they don't respect it. So that's very good for Greenland. Denmark threatens us with taking away our right to health and education.
Really? So you wouldn't be that mad if Donald Trump did buy Greenland?
He can't. But we will certainly cooperate with the United States. We already do.
How much would you bet that Donald Trump does not buy Greenland?
My fortune.
Your fortune. What would you say the probability is that he buys it? Like 10%, 20%?
0.
0. And now, if you guys watching this video right now want to bet on whether or not Donald Trump will buy a piece of Greenland, you can do it on an app called Kalshi. They are the pinned comment down below. Check them out at kalshi.com/Nick. You guys can make a bet as to whether you think Donald Trump will buy Greenland or not. This guy does not think that Donald Trump will be able to buy Greenland. However, I think other people are a little more skeptical that Donald Trump and the United States will buy a piece of Greenland.
Okay. We have everyone has a different opinion, so that's also good for the democracy.
It is good for the democracy. You're a smart man. Go check out Kalshi, and now let's continue with this video so go and talk with more people.
I don't want to be American. I don't want to.
All right, so apparently my stream's not working. Let me see, fix it right quick. I don't know if it's the output or something, because I keep having. What the fuck's going on? Anyway, looks like it's working right now.
Be Dane.
So what do you want to see happen with Greenland?
I think it's natural what's going on. We've been working for self-determination for many years. We have experienced some pressure from the coming president from U.S., but that should not shock us. That should not shake us in our work and wishes to realize our self-determination. So it's not about Denmark, it's not about U.S., it's about Greenland. Our problem is that we are situated geopolitical in the middle of two big superpowers.
Greenland could be looked at as a very vulnerable country, as there's only 57,000 citizens here.
But it doesn't matter how few or how many we are. This is our country, and it has been. We have taken care of this long before any people could live here.
Yeah.
That's part of our heritage, and we have our rights.
In the past 4 years, the United States has given over $200 billion to countries like Ukraine, Israel, whether that be through military aid or financial aid. $200 billion is a lot of money. Yeah. So that goes to show that we have a lot of money. If Donald Trump were to offer you guys $5 billion, and you guys have 57,000 residents here, each resident would get around $100,000. Would you guys become United States citizens for $100,000?
No, I think not me.
Why do you think Donald Trump wants to buy Greenland?
The reason that I believe that he wants Greenland is because of the military use, not because of the Arctic. He claims that there is a lot of Russian and Chinese activity, which is why he's very interested, but also, if I'm correct, territorial expansions.
How much money would you sell your citizenship of Greenland to the United States for?
I wouldn't. I'm very proud of my cultural identity, and I believe that one day we're going to become independent.
What if the United States worked out a deal where they're able to liberate Greenland from Denmark, and you guys are able to be independent, yet the United States military could still be here in Greenland and expand, and they could also mine in the other places where there are natural minerals? Would that be something you'd be interested in?
No. No.
You don't want the United States here at all?
No.
What do you think about Donald Trump wanting to buy Greenland?
I think it's a joke.
It is interesting as somebody who's from the United States because he did campaign on a lot of things, but he never brought up the idea of buying Greenland or taking over the Panama Canal, so it's kind of a new idea right now. Why do you think Donald Trump wants to take Greenland?
I think it's only because of the base, Thule base, because he's afraid of somebody's going to use it if they're not.
Would you feel more secure knowing that you have the largest military in the world, that being the United States?
No. I don't want the military in Greenland. We don't have anything to do with war, and we will never have something to do with it.
So are you worried that if Donald Trump does buy Greenland, war could...
He cannot buy Greenland. I'm pretty sure.
And what would happen if the military of the United States did show up here on your shores? What would the reaction be of the Greenlanders?
I think people is going to be afraid because, like I said, Greenland have nothing to do with war, and we will never have something to do with war.
The Prime Minister of Greenland did say he is ready to talk with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Does that concern you?
Yeah, and she did, of course. I mean, like, we're still negotiating right now. So before we're gonna go into that, we're gonna go into that conversation I had. So Denmark had fundamental differences with the U.S. over Greenland. Diplomat says Denmark's foreign minister said that the three governments had a frank but constructive discussion about President Trump's wish to get Greenland. It was their first meeting on the subject. So Denmark's Greenland and the United States have a fundamental disagreement over the future of the territory in the North Atlantic. So Lars Lucky, I believe, Rasmussen, the Danish foreign minister, said on Wednesday after the meeting with top Trump administration. The meeting in Washington hours after President Trump said the United States needs Greenland was the first among three governments to discuss Mr. Trump's desire to buy or take the semi-autonomous Danish territory. Mr. Rasmussen and Mosfeldt, I believe, Vivian Mosfeldt, the Greenland foreign minister, met with Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Afterwards, Mr. Rasmussen called the discussion frank and constructive, even as he underscored that Denmark has no interest in changing the status quo. So, all right. Blah, blah, blah. Where was I at? Perspective. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Our perspectives continue to differ, he said, and the president has made his view clearer. I wish people would stop fucking texting me right now when I'm in the middle of doing my show. And we have different positions. But he said there was also progress. The governments will form a working group, likely within weeks, to try to find a path forward that accommodates Mr. Trump's security concerns without violating the territorial integrity of the Danish kingdom or the Greenlanders. So that was the meeting today. Oh, let me go back to this. So that was the meeting between the officials from Greenland and America, which was Marco Rubio and Vice President J.D. Vance. So the Danish Prime Minister, the Greenland Prime Minister had met with Marco Rubio and had met with J.D. Vance to discuss the acquiring about buying Greenland, but as you know, talks kind of fell through, and both sides, they're both dead set on what they want. The United States government wants Greenland, and Greenland wants a sovereignty. Which one is going to come out on the other end? Because Trump is pushing up his rhetoric even more. He wants Greenland no matter what, and he's not going to stop until he acquires it. So the government's pushing hard for it, and everyone else seems to be against the purchase or the conquering of Greenland. In my opinion, like I said before, ideology perspective, we should go out there and just take it. That's how I look at it, because it is to prevent our enemies from getting the one up on us, because China's trying to gain territorial in Greenland, and Russia also. Now, of course, they're doing it in ways to where they're buying like real estate, they're purchasing lands through other means, but we can't allow that to keep growing. We have to actually cool this problem before it gets worse. So.
At all? Not at all, because he's only saying it so if they want to expand on the Thule, because it's already written that they can expand and do whatever they want up there. So I'm not afraid of that.
Okay, so you're not afraid, even though your prime minister said he's ready to talk?
No, I'm not afraid.
Say the United States offered to buy Greenland for $5 billion. That would give you around $90,000 or upwards of $100,000. Would you become a United States citizen for $100,000?
No, I wouldn't.
How do you feel about the United States wanting to buy Greenland?
It's ridiculous.
And why do you think it's ridiculous?
Because it's not for sale.
What would it take for you to want to become a part of the United States?
Nothing.
And why wouldn't you want to become part of the United States?
Maybe taxes, the healthcare system.
Greenland is very interesting because you guys are in the Arctic Circle, and you guys are the largest island in the world, and you guys have the bridge between the United States, Canada, and Russia.
Yeah.
So do you think Donald Trump wants to buy Greenland in preparations if there's a World War III to break out?
Yeah, but the thing is, Greenland is a very peaceful place. I don't think it's fitting to get some weapons imported.
Okay, so that'd be kind of your fear, is that if Donald Trump were to buy Greenland, it might cause some tensions here in Greenland.
Yes, exactly.
What kind of tensions do you think? Can you elaborate on that?
Maybe we get aimed at from other countries.
What do you think about the United States buying Greenland?
No more Danish.
Why do you guys not like the Danish?
Liar.
How do you feel?
Oops. I don't know what the fuck happened.
Greenland, it might cause some tensions here.
I don't know why the hell is YouTube acting. My internet's acting stupid right now. But
in Greenland.
Yes, exactly.
What kind of tensions do you think? Can you elaborate on that?
Maybe we get aimed at from other countries.
What do you think being bought potentially by the United States?
I don't think we're going to be bought. Times have passed where you could buy other people in other states. You did that 100 years ago, not now.
So Greenland's not for sale?
No, definitely not.
Would that destroy NATO if Donald Trump went against Denmark and bought Greenland, and took over Greenland?
I don't know if it would destroy the NATO, but it would definitely change it, for sure. Yeah, it's a completely new kind of situation, so yeah, no, I don't know that. What I like about this situation is that more people outside Greenland are taking Greenland serious now and listening to what we want.
Yeah, because I think people are realizing it's a different time, different measures. War in Ukraine, Russia, you never know how far that could escalate. And I think that's why Donald Trump wants to get Greenland to protect the United States from those trading routes where they could come in with submarines and secretly somehow attack the United States or other countries.
So what you're essentially saying is that he wants to make Greenland the country where the bombs fall, or what? I mean, that's insane.
You're looking at it as if Donald Trump wants to buy Greenland so that if there was a war to break out, the attacks would happen on Greenland first.
Yeah, if so, maybe, I don't know, because you can switch that into saying you want war in Greenland or whatever. I don't think so, because I think this whole, I know Trump, he got really angry when the Prime Minister said that this thought was absurd, and that's because we use the word absurd in a different way in Danish. But I think it is absurd, because this is just not, you don't buy other people, you don't buy other countries, you cooperate with other countries, and that's it. It's not about Greenland being bombed or military in Greenland or whatever. Just, you know, in 2025, countries cooperate or they do not. They don't buy each other.
And now that your Prime Minister is ready to talk with Donald Trump.
Yeah, they conquered though too as well. So I mean, I get it what she's trying to say, but it's like China's buying literal territory in Greenland right now, and yeah, they are technically they are buying the country. They're just not realizing how China is going about committing this way of literally like purchasing Greenland. So,
are you worried about the United States buying Greenland?
No, not at all. I'm 68 years old, so I'm not worried.
What do you and the majority of Greenlanders think about Donald Trump?
Bruh. Rainbow hair color. Really?
As a human being, he's a little bit crazy.
That guy don't want to hear. Now that guy don't want to buy him. We could sell him to the Chinese. We could let the Chinese have him. Everyone else, it's to some degree. I know Greenland's a little bit because it's from Denmark. They're very like liberal in some cases, but it's just like, we could do with some of them. We could do without some of them.
Maybe, but he's the most powerful in the world next after Putin and China.
Do you think Vladimir Putin is more powerful than Donald Trump?
No.
So would you say Donald?
I'm about to say, cause bro, that's a dumb thing to say. But I mean, I would consider Xi and Putin to be a little cunning. Don't get me wrong. I ain't saying Donald Trump is an eater, but it's just like, Putin got the stone cold killer eyes, bro. Even though technically speaking, he hasn't pulled the trigger on just like completely vaporizing Ukraine, even though because he doesn't want to. He has the look of a guy that can go out there and just like, he could literally like make a bear charge at him, no pun intended, a bear charge at him, scared to even want to approach him. That's the type of eyes that Putin has. Xi Jinping, the guy looks kind of mild, but he looks like an assassin. He gets like that average Joe look. And then he's like a stone cold assassin.
Donald Trump's the most powerful man in the world?
Yeah, U.S. is the most powerful country in the world.
Is Greenland for sale?
No. See, we live here. Trump cannot buy Greenland.
What will you do if he does buy Greenland?
I will ask Trump if he can kayak on his own without help. If he can buy. If he can't, he don't buy.
So if the United States were to buy Greenland and you were able to get $20,000, would you do it?
I will not say yes for money. For Greenland or money, I will choose Greenland. We live in Greenland, he cannot buy this.
For $100,000, would you guys sell Greenland? If each citizen of Greenland got $100,000, would you sell your country?
Yes.
But you said Greenland is not.
Nigga. Bro. So I guess there is a price tag on like how much Greenland's worth to these people. The fact that he even agreed to that is like, bro, $100,000? $100,000, that's crazy. That's crazy.
For sale, but you'd sell it for $100,000.
Money is money. will understand.
What do you think about Donald Trump in the United States buying Greenland?
Well, I don't know about buying, but I believe that there should be a better relationship with America, because I don't think our country is very. We don't talk with any other countries really. We are kind of bound to Denmark. Yeah, I ain't sure about buying it.
Would you guys like to seek independence from Denmark and then become part of the United States?
I believe that at someday we should have independence, and that also means that we would have to mine and stuff. I don't believe we would be able to be self-sufficient with just fish.
Do you think it would be better for you guys to become part of the United States versus being part of Denmark?
Of course, there's some benefits to America. We would.
Our dollar is stronger. We pretty much built up Denmark. Like Denmark owes the United States right now. It's part of NATO. Now, who's in charge of NATO? Trump already comes back in the office already second term. He doesn't hide his despair for how much he hates, Europe and how much he dislikes NATO. Like, he wants to disband NATO so badly, but he doesn't, because he'll keep them around long enough at arm's length. But it's like Trump doesn't really like NATO. So, but to sit up here and say like Denmark is pretty much was built off of our dollar. We fund Denmark. We keep Denmark in power, whatever. Denmark is protected by us. As long as they're in NATO, they're protected by the United States government. But that's not good enough. Greenland wants its sovereignty. So Greenland would be a country that's where a foreign sovereign country, as they say, which is not even that much bigger than, it's not that much bigger than pretty much, what was it? Hold on one second. Make sure I got that again. Sure, where is it at? See, it's not even that much big than basically like Alaska and Montana. So it's not that big than Alaska and Montana. So people sitting up here and saying that, excuse me, let me fix my hat. That looks kind of weird. But anyways, it's saying that here that it can be self-sufficient by itself. I mean, like, that's just laughable. That's just laughable by itself. Greenland doesn't have the self-sufficiency to really truly be able to stand on its own if and when it gets its sovereignty from Denmark, because at that point it has to hold on to that sovereignty, because you have three powerful countries fighting for who's going to control it afterwards. Because as much as, you know, Greenland sits up here and acts like, say, hey, we want our sovereignty, we want to have our own independence, and we would still continue to work with the United States government and give you access to our country, so where your military troops can come here and take up post areas, just in case, you know, there was something to happen off the Atlantic Ocean towards Russia. But that's not good enough, according to Trump. This is why Trump is pushing so hard to get them to accept either accept a deal that's offered to them monetarily, or we could just forcefully just take it. And they really couldn't do nothing about it. Greenland would just literally become the United States government if we truly wanted to. Oops.
Have a way bigger military, and we would be safe from invasions in case of a war or something. If the Third World War comes, I don't know how much it would matter with all the nuclear weapons and stuff, but there would probably be some Russians coming from Greenland to go to America and stuff as a vantage point.
Your prime minister did say he's ready to talk with Donald Trump about the situation. What do you think that means?
I think he wants to negotiate in other ways than selling Greenland. We are open to the outside world, but we don't want to sell. We want to negotiate and make money in other ways other than Denmark, in export ways.
Now with the conflicts that are across the world with Ukraine, Russia, China, and their involvement together, and Greenland has a pivotal location as far as the trading routes for these ships and for these countries, can you understand why Donald Trump would want to buy Greenland to protect the United States from Russia?
I really do. We're well placed in the geopolitical meaning. We're placed in the middle of everything with Russia and USA on both sides. And I just think, of course, I understand that he wants to buy us through the resources and the geopolitical way.
And China did try to build airports and give loans to Greenland, and they were trying to influence their way here into Greenland as well. Would you guys rather have influence of China or the United States here?
None, neither. I do think it's a brilliant idea that we do negotiate with other countries, but not in the way of being bought. No one can.
Oops, I forgot that.
We're just, Greenland is.
And China, Russia, and their involvement together, and Greenland has a pivotal location as far as the trading routes for these ships and for these countries. Can you understand?
That's also very true as well. I forgot to bring that up too. I think it's projected to be like 2050 or 2060, I believe. It's around when like the glaciers, the icy cold Atlantic Ocean's glaciers, ice cold waters are gonna, like the ice frozen waters, like the glaciers are gonna start melting around those time periods, which is gonna open up far more trading routes for ships to come in and trade off the Atlantic Ocean. That's because of something like, you know, if you're like a believer in global warming, that's exactly why that's the case. So that's why China and Russia also have a big besides the military aspect about it, you know, and holding up posts, because it's like literally it's like above from where Canada's at. It's not too far from where the United States government is, where from the United States is, not just the government, but from the whole United States country. And they want it for the trade routes, and then for the military post, to basically have one up on the government, and to basically have the government of Greenland in favor of China, Russia, and all the other BRICS countries. So
why Donald Trump would want to buy Greenland to protect the United States from Russia?
I really do. We're well placed in the geopolitical meaning. We're placed in the middle of everything with Russia and USA on both sides. And I just think, of course, I understand that he wants to buy us through the resources and the geopolitical way.
And China did try to build airports and give loans to Greenland, and they were trying to influence their way here into Greenland as well. Would you guys rather have influence of China or the United States here?
None, neither. I do think it's a brilliant idea that we do negotiate with other countries, but not in the way of being bought. No one can buy us, and Greenland is for the Greenlanders.
Are you worried about being invaded by the U.S. military, as Donald Trump did say? That's not off the record when he did have a press conference the other day.
Of course we are.
I don't want this to sound like a threat, but here there are 57,000 people.
Yeah.
And in the United States, our military is much larger than 57,000 people.
I know, but we are part of Denmark, and Denmark is under NATO, and I'm sure in some way they will support us if it did happen.
They're not. Like, these people grossly underestimate the fact that the NATO alliance has more to gain from their perspective, from all the NATO countries' perspective, like, you know, France, you know, the UK, you know, Germany, they have more to gain by being partnered with the United States government than protecting some little small little island. They're not going to go die for Greenland. So I that's just copium, pure copium.
Which I'm sure it won't. Yeah, I'm not saying I want you guys to be invaded by any means. I don't want that to happen. I'm just throwing that out theoretically and to play devil's advocate with you guys. But we'll see what happens. It's gonna be interesting.
And what do you guys think is going to happen to Greenland? Remember, if this video gets to 10,000 likes and we get to 350,000 subscribers, I will go to the Panama Canal. This is Nick, and I will see you next video.
So that's that on that one. So that was basically on ground perspective from the people themselves, besides just having like a poll pretty much drawn, and then you see people give their opinions about that they want to be part of the United States government or whatever. No opinion poll. That's from the Guardian, of course. But we got basically on ground polling instead. Basically, we got people going there and doing their due diligence of just asking the people of Greenland themselves. As you can see, it does kind of back up somewhat of what the Guardian poll shows right here, 85%. But at the same time, I mean, like, if we're gonna be very realistic, if the United States government just wanted to take Greenland, no one really can tell us anything.
9% are undecided, and only 6%, roughly 3,400 people, support becoming American. This reality directly contradicts the message being sold to the American public, where Greenland is portrayed as eager to leave Denmark and join the United States. But as I do with every video on this channel, I'm not pushing ideology, I'm looking at facts. And once again, the facts on the ground tell a very different story than the rhetoric coming out of Washington. But now let's be brutally honest. If the United States truly wanted to seize Greenland, it absolutely could. Europe is not in a position to defeat the US militarily, but winning militarily and winning strategically are not the same thing. An annexation of Greenland would shatter trust in the United States, not just in Europe, but globally. American historian and journalist Annie Applebaum put it bluntly. If America is just a regional bully, then our former allies in Europe and Asia will close their doors and their markets to us. Sooner or later, our Western Hemisphere will organize against us and fight back. Far from making us more powerful, the pursuit of dominance will make us weaker, leaving us with no sphere and no influence at all. But many Americans dismiss the warning. They believe the U.S. economy is too large, too important, and too central to global trade.
Well, you got to take in mind, we do have nukes. So these people got to realize, like, when you have the nuclear capabilities, most of these countries in the Western Hemisphere don't even have that capability to even have nuclear weapons. Sure, they can fight back. Sure. But if we nuke them all, well, that will also hurt us economically. I'm just saying a hypothetical perspective, so don't sit here and just take my word for absolute. Okay, again, this is some of this is pure satire, but some of this is also relevant truths that you got to realize, like, militarily wise, yeah, some could rise up against us and try to quill us from doing what we're doing, and when it comes to like how we handle our allies. But at the same time, it's also important to realize that even if some of these countries hypothetically were to rise up against us, we can still quill the problem very, very quickly. Now, if it's like a unity type of problem, maybe it might be a little bit longer than that. But our military is still bigger, we're still well funded, and we have better weaponries. Like, most of these countries in the Western Hemisphere don't even have the weapons that are up to par that the United States government has. Now, if they join with BRICS countries, that's a different ball game.
For allies to ever push back. But that assumption is already being tested. Squawkbox recently reported that the European Union is actively drawing up sanctions against U.S. technology companies and banks should Trump reject a proposed NATO framework related to Greenland. At the same time, another major development has largely flown under the radar. The European Union has reached a new agreement with China on pricing for Chinese electric vehicle imports. And trust me, this is no small story. Chinese EVs are already dominating global markets. And once again, U.S. instability is handing Beijing a quiet geopolitical win. Just last week, I published a video titled Why Trump's War in Venezuela is a Gift to China. And the core argument applies here as well. Under Trump, the United States is increasingly seen as unpredictable, unstable, and unwilling to follow the rules it once enforced. China doesn't need to confront America directly. It can simply wait and watch Washington make mistake after mistake. Across the global south, which represents 85% of the world's population, China is already viewed more favorably than the United States. And if Washington were to cross this red line by invading European territory, even America's closest allies could begin reassessing their relationship with the United States. That's why Greenland isn't just another foreign policy dispute. It has the potential to become one of the greatest geopolitical blunders in American history. A moment where raw power replaced principle and short-term bravado permanently damage America's global standing. Trump isn't walking into victory here. He's walking into a trap, and the cost could be America's credibility for the next generation. Everyone, thank you for making it to this point of the video, and a huge thank you to Outskill for sponsoring today's important message. Take advantage of my free gift to you and learn everything you need to know about AI in this free AI mastermind training happening this weekend. The links to register are in the video description and pinned comment down below. Thank you all. And
let's be realistic too as well. In some of these South American countries, we do have leaders that are literally subservient to the American regime. I mean, like, take Argentina, for example. Javier Milei, Malay's not going to turn his back on us right now, because we literally bailed him out so that way he can win the presidency and become the president of Argentina. We overthrew Maduro to put Delcy Rodriguez in power, his vice president, so that way she can play nice with the United States government. Among other countries, you know, Colombia is talking big game, but of course, if push comes to shove, we will put them in their place. You know, we have other countries in, you know, the Western Hemisphere that can sit there and talk a big game, but they're not going to really do anything. And like, all it takes is like a couple of sanctions, and then we can destroy their economy. And then if they go to war with us, it would hurt them far worse than it would hurt us. So people have to think about this in a longer term perspective. Like, they have more to lose than we do. We have more to gain. They have way more to lose. So it wouldn't, strategically, it would not work well for them. So let's just be completely honest right now. So we're going to go to my second video that I have right here, Truth About Greenland. This is from Forgotten History. Personally, one of my favorite channels. Hit me.
This video is sponsored by Raycon.
We need Greenland for national security and even international security, and we're working with everybody involved to try and get it. But we need it really for international world security. And
what the hell's going on with YouTube right now? YouTube's acting stupid right now today.
This video is sponsored by Raycon.
we need Greenland for national security and even international security. And
all right. Well, that loads up a little bit. Give it a little, bruh. What's going on with my internet right now? Literally. Stupid thing. Yeah, this thing's acting retarded today. But anyways, yeah. Stream's working good right now, but yeah, so Forgotten History is going to give you more of like an ideological perspective on the matter about Greenland, and then he's also going to throw in some historical context about Greenland, ones that I mentioned earlier, especially when it pertains to like World War II, about Greenland, Cold War. You know, I believe I was in a fuck, which president was it? Theodore, I think it was, let me see. Hold on one second. I want to make sure because I don't want to say the wrong information. All right, so it was Harriet Truman. So Harriet Truman was also one of the other presidents besides Trump to inquire about basically buying Greenland. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't state the wrong president's name at first, because I don't have that written down on my notes right up here. But yeah, so Truman was another president that wanted that, and then he, of course, this video is going to go over all the information right now. It's important. That's why I'm glad I chose in this order right here. I chose this for historical purposes right here, because like I want people to really like understand exactly why is it that the United States government is pushing so hard for Greenland, and what is the historical history between the United States government and Greenland too as well. And this one right here gives you a good, better understanding of that. And then you can understand the ideological perspective of why we should go and get Greenland.
we're working with everybody involved to try and get it. But we need it really for international world security. And I think we're going to get it one way or the other. We're going to get it.
Few Americans realize that Greenland, a remote, icy landmass larger than Alaska, has quietly sat at the heart of U.S. strategy for more than 80 years. Long before headlines mocked Donald Trump for wanting to buy it, Washington's generals, scientists, and spies already saw Greenland as a shield, a warning post, and a gateway to the Arctic. From the moment Nazi Germany occupied Denmark in 1940, the United States moved in to secure the island, build air bases and weather stations that would later become vital lifelines during World War II in the Cold War that followed. Today, that same frozen territory has returned to the center of global attention. Melting ice is uncovering vast deposits of rare earth minerals, the metals essential for modern technology and defense, while opening Arctic shipping routes coveted by the world's superpowers. The United States, China, and Russia are once again circling Greenland for influence and control. What was once dismissed as a relic of Cold War paranoia has become a prize in a new era of strategic rivalry. So as global powers return to the Arctic, is this a reckless land grab or a strategic necessity for America? Let's try and find out.
Could be
Hello,
both.
I'm Mike Droberg, Marine Corps veteran and filmmaker. We will try to answer these questions on today's episode of Forgotten History.
When Nazi Germany invaded Denmark in 1940, Washington feared the island could become a forward base for Axis operations in the North Atlantic. Under an agreement with the Danish ambassador in exile, the U.S. established airfields and weather stations for defense of the Western Hemisphere. In truth, America had just claimed one of the most strategic pieces of real estate on Earth. In 1941, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers was carving bases from the ice. The Bluey stations, with names like Bluey West 1 and Bluey East 2, became vital refueling and supply points for Allied aircraft crossing the Atlantic. Greenland proved its worth as an invisible ally of the war effort, and when victory came, the bases stayed. The war had revealed what the Pentagon would never forget. Whoever controlled Greenland controlled the northern gateway to America. As the Cold War began, that idea hardened into policy. In 1951, a new defense agreement with Denmark gave birth to Thule Air Base, America's northernmost stronghold. Built with breathtaking speed and secrecy, Thule was a city in the ice. Runways, hangars, barracks, and radar towers rose from the frozen landscape as engineers battled snow, darkness, and sub-zero winds to create a fortress at the top of the world. From here, Strategic Air Command kept nuclear...
Yeah, it's very cold in Greenland. Like, bro, excuse me. Yeah, it's the atmosphere in Greenland is it's very like actually very cold. Like, if you're not properly well dressed, as you can see, like in Nick Shirley's interview when he was down there on the ground interviewing all the people, all the domestic residents of Greenland, you can see how they're properly dressed. Yeah, it's very cold, and the cold is it's very unforgiving because it's like right there next to the Atlantic Ocean, and in that region it's frozen. Like, most of the oceans like literally iced up, glaciers, like frozen solid. Sometimes ships get stuck there in the waters, and then they have to wait a little bit until they could somehow get themselves unstuck. So it's very unforgiving weather. I would say that it's a very unforgiving. It's not, the weather's not on your side. I'm gonna be real with you in Greenland. It's not on your side.
Armed bombers ready to launch within minutes. Above it stood a massive radar array, part of the ballistic missile early warning system, watching for Soviet missiles that could reach the U.S. in less than 20 minutes. Then, in the early 1960s, the U.S. launched Project Iceworm, a classified plan to build a network of tunnels and missile silos beneath the Greenland ice sheet. Officially, it was described as a scientific outpost called Camp Century, powered by a portable nuclear reactor. However, the secret project failed when engineers discovered that the glacier moved too unpredictably, slowly crushing the tunnels. The mission was quietly abandoned, and the truth did not become public for decades. You know how some remakes just get it right, like the Mad Max reboot or the Dune remake? Well, it added something big: active noise cancellation. Brought to you by Raycon. Then, in 1968, a U.S. B-52 bomber carrying 4 hydrogen bombs crashed near Thule after an onboard fire. The impact scattered radioactive debris across the ice. Hundreds of Danish and American workers were sent to clean it up under extreme conditions. Many later suffered illnesses they linked to radiation exposure. Denmark, which prohibited nuclear weapons in its territory, faced public outrage when it was revealed that U.S. aircraft had been routinely flying nuclear missions over Greenland. The incident strained the alliance, but Thule remained operational, and the American presence endured. When the Cold War finally ended, Greenland's importance seemed to fade with it. The Soviet threat dissolved, and the Arctic bases that once pulsed with activity grew quiet. The U.S. withdrew most of its personnel, closed several outposts, and trimmed Thule down to a skeleton operation. What remained was a frozen reminder of a conflict that never turned hot. To the public, it looked like an era of radar domes and nuclear patrols had passed. Inside the Pentagon, that assumption never fully took hold. Greenland's location was too valuable to ignore, even in peace. By the late 1990s, scientists began documenting the rapid melting of Greenland's ice sheet. What alarmed climatologists excited strategists. Beneath the retreating glaciers lay immense deposits of rare earth minerals, uranium and iron ore, resources essential to modern technology, defense, and renewable energy. Shipping routes once locked in ice were opening seasonally, promising.
The only issue is in the Cyrus video he mentioned earlier that it's still very much a lot frozen to get access to a lot of these rare earth minerals. So it's gonna take upwards to billions to trillions of dollars to even be able to get the machinery to be able to unthaw and dig through this ice to be able to gain access to those rare earth materials. So they're there and they're very much worth a lot of money to the United States government. But the problem being is that it's still very frozen and it's hard to gain access to. So we kind of like in a sticky situation pretty much.
Faster connections between Europe, Asia, and North America. The Arctic, once a barrier, was becoming a crossroads. Those changes did not go unnoticed. China began quietly investing in mining operations and research ventures across the Arctic, including exploratory projects in Greenland. Russia expanded its northern fleet, refurbishing old Soviet bases and constructing new icebreakers to patrol the polar waters. NATO renewed its focus on the high north, and for Washington, the pattern felt familiar. The same forces of competition that had defined the 20th century were returning with new tools and new players. In 2008, the U.S. Air Force reaffirmed Thul's mission as a part of the Global Missile Tracking Network, linking it with satellite communication systems and early warning radars that now watch both Russia and China. 2 years later, the Department of Defense described the Arctic as a domain of increasing strategic importance. Greenland had never left America's orbit. It had simply waited for the world to catch up. By 2020, Washington reestablished a formal diplomatic presence in Greenland for the first time since the 1950s. The U.S. reopened its consulate in Nuuk, framing it as a gesture of partnership with the local government. Behind the scenes, it signaled something larger, that America once again recognized the need for eyes, ears, and influence in the Arctic. When Donald Trump first publicly suggested buying Greenland in 2019, most of the world reacted with disbelief. The idea sounded absurd, but history told a different story. The U.S. had approached Denmark about purchasing Greenland twice before, first in 1867 and again in 1946, when the Truman administration offered $100 million in gold. Each time, Denmark refused. Trump was simply the first president to say it out loud. Behind the spectacle was genuine strategic concern. China's expanding role in Greenland's mining sector had raised alarms in Washington. Russia was rearming its northern coast, building new airstrips and deploying nuclear-powered icebreakers to dominate Arctic shipping lanes. The map of global power was shifting, and Greenland sat at its center once again. Trump's offer was dismissed by Copenhagen as unrealistic, but the motive was clear. The goal was not ownership, but access and influence. If Greenland's resources and airspace could be secured through cooperation, it would prevent rivals from gaining a foothold in the Western Hemisphere. What began as a headline turned into quiet policy. America was reasserting itself in the Arctic, not through conquest, but through partnership and presence. The global reaction, however, turned the story upside down. When Trump floated the idea publicly, headlines exploded with ridicule. Commentators accused him of global ambition, of colonial ambition, and even suggested he intended to take Greenland by force. Late-night hosts turned the plan into a meme, a punchline of American arrogance. Yet buried under the noise was the familiar truth. The U.S. presidents had made the same offer twice before, and the logic behind it had never changed. Control of Greenland wasn't a vanity, it was security. Ironically, the outrage had real consequences. Denmark, caught off guard by the renewed spotlight on the Arctic, quietly boosted its defense spending by more than $2 billion, deployed new radar systems across Greenland, and sent a warship north to patrol its icy frontier. But the media dismissed this madness, forced NATO to take the Arctic seriously again. Trump hadn't sparked an international incident. He reignited a security doctrine that never really died. For Greenland, this renewed attention was a mixed blessing. Economic opportunities promised jobs, investment, and modernization. It also brought caution. The same global interests that once built military bases now arrived as investors and corporations. Local leaders began balancing their relationships between Denmark, the United States, and China, each promising prosperity while pursuing their own interests. In Washington, the reasoning remained consistent. America's Arctic strategy has always been guided by necessity, not novelty. The future of the Northern Hemisphere will be shaped by who controls its resources, trade routes, and technology. Greenland has been many things to the United States. A shield during war, a listening post during peace, and now a frontier for influence and resources. Its role has evolved, but its purpose has not. Control of the Arctic and security has always driven policy. As the ice recedes and new opportunities emerge, America's presence
Bro,
in Greenland
what the
continues
fuck
much as
is
it
going
began.
on?
Steady, strategic, and watching the horizon for what comes next. Let us know your thoughts about Greenland in the comments below.
Thank you for watching Forgotten History. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you have any comments or show ideas, we'd love to hear from you. Thanks again.
Anyways, all right, moving on. Sorry, I'm just like looking at my phone. I don't know why is my shit keep buffering. I'm looking at my phone. It's like, bro, move that up a little bit. All right, that should do. All right, if the internet's still buffering, just refresh it. I don't know what the fuck's going on with this thing. All right, let's go to, this is from U.S. Today. So to give you guys a clear view of where, this is the map right here, okay? This is the map I was referring to earlier when I was talking about where I was going to show you guys exactly a map of what Greenland is comparative to the United States. So as you can see, this is the United States. This is Canada. Greenland is above Canada. It's right here. That's the nuke. Greenland, Iceland, and Denmark is right over here. This means it is still currently a territory of Denmark, but then you look at it's right over here from each other. And you look at that, and now this is right here in this little circle, right area, right over here. This right here is the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, that is going to open up in the next coming years or so, whereas a lot of the ice in the Atlantic Ocean is going to start melting, and it's going to open up more trading routes right here. And then, as you can see right here on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean, here's Russia, and as you can see over there, China. Now, you're starting to get a perspective about why is it that they want, they're interested in Greenland more than just the military strategic benefit. Now it's also for the trading routes, because as you can see right here, like I said, they have a chance to have a better, pretty much like they're in a better position right there by being able to be basically like above the United States government, basically be above them. Like if you see how the way you see how the way Greenland is stationed right here, and the U.S. is like down there underneath Canada. That means if, like, say there was Russian and China soldiers and saved that World War III, I'm giving you like a simulation, perspective. Like you look at like where Greenland's at, and then you look at where the United States is at. Say there's Russia and China troops on the ground already, and then they fire off missiles to the United States. Now say that say if you were to fire missiles from there, we would technically be in a very bad predicament right there, because say if there's troops on the ground in Greenland and they were stationed there and they would have said laid off missiles there. I'm just giving you like a more of like a simple simulation to run in your head about how it would look if, say, Russia or China had troops there, and then we were in the middle of a conflict with either one, a military action conflict, to where then we're put in a predicament of like being attacked, and then they're right there in Greenland. But really, economically, it's more of like apparent about why it is that the United States really wants Greenland besides military. It's because of right here, as you can see, this area right here opens up the trade route. It opens up the trade route right here. All of this right here over the next couple of years is going to melt because of a thing called global warming. As time goes on and the Arctic begins to melt, you're going to see more chances for more trade routes to be let open, and you're going to see a chance for more growth when it comes to the trade market. And obviously speaking, these two right here who are in charge of the BRICS side of things, they are looking at this opportunity right here to jump on that train. And the biggest benefactor of all this is the country that's caught in the middle of it, the little small countries that's trying to seek its independence, which is Greenland. So it's being jogged around by 3 superpowers that who wants to fight to control it. Obviously, China and Russia are working together when it comes to their BRICS alliance. United States government is pretty much in its own business of going after Greenland. And we're not working with NATO because NATO is opposed to us just taking the country militarily. And they want us to basically respect their sovereignty and have them do self-determination. And I look at this like I can respect that, but then at the same time, China and Russia are not looking at that. They want to acquire Greenland just as much as we do, because they realize there's dollar signs in that trade route that's going to open up. If we allow them to go in there and acquire Greenland, we're setting ourselves up for failure. So it's pretty much like a free for all. It's pretty much going to be like, who's going to acquire Greenland before the other one? Who is going to get access to those income and trade routes that are going to be very lucrative to that country's GDP growth? So we live in a trade market society. We live in like a free trade society, a value-based system. So this is the opportunity of a lifetime for each country to want to grow economically and get their trade routes open to be able to benefit their own country. So this is a military standpoint. This is a military strategic standpoint, but this is also a economic standpoint. This is very much more economic. In my opinion, it's far more economically important for the United States government to attain Greenland than it is militarily. Now, again, hypothetically, war happens. Say Russia fires a missile from right over here. We would be able to see it. We would be able to spot it first in Greenland and be able to intercept the missiles far better compared to, say, we were like in the United States, and then, as you know, it will fly over Canada. I don't know if Canada's going to be able to spot the missiles. I don't know if they got the weaponry to be able to be up to par, especially with what we got. So that's that. But it's more of like economically why we want to acquire Greenland, less so more militarily. That is also a key factor, but it's not the most important one. So now this one right here is from the Times Magazine. On the eve of crunch talks with U.S. Greenland declares we choose Denmark. So this is a day before the talks took place. Times reported Greenland's prime minister declared on Tuesday that his government would stand with Denmark rather than the United States. A blunt rebuke to President Donald Trump's push to take control of the vast Arctic island ahead of high-stakes talks with high-ranking White House officials. So they're very dead set on like not wanting to be part of the United States government. They're very dead set on not wanting to join us. They're very like rebellious because they view that this is their sovereignty. You're pleading on their sovereignty. We would rather stay with Denmark, our original colonizers, than be part of you. So, but they're not going to really, like, militarily, they're not going to be able to really do nothing. Even if we were to take them over, it wouldn't last that long. All right. And now we got a video right here from Tim Pool. They had a discussion about this past week. 5 days ago, liberals panic after Trump says we need Greenland, fears of invasion. Make sure this is turned up.
Stretch far and wide since his Venezuela strike. I'm kidding, by the way, but I'm sure that'll get taken out of context. Apparently, Trump has passively threatened to take Greenland by force and Iran.
Yeah, so A lot of people are panicking. You also have a lot of Republicans too that are not in support of just militarily going in there and just conquering Greenland. Of course, I understand their sympathy towards not want to go in there and just militarily conquer the country, but I look at this as like it's a necessary need. Because we are an empire. I view America as an empire, and as an empire, you never want to stop growing the said empire. We should want to expand more. We should have more military bases elsewhere around the country in certain parts, especially in the little island of Greenland. We want our bases there. And especially whenever it comes to those open routes that are up and coming, when the Arctic melts, we will want our boats there. First and foremost, we want those trade routes to only be accessed by us. And if our adversaries want to getting access to those trade routes, they have to talk to us and they have to pay us first. That's how it should go.
And now you've got a bunch of MAGA people tweeting out, posting on X, who's next? If we can remove a government in 90 minutes,
it's worth knowing the 160th SOAR, basically the Night Stalkers, the guys that fly the choppers for the Special Forces. They've been making a lot of moves to Europe right now, and I've read a lot of chatter that says that there's a lot of Special Forces guys.
They flew to the UK, right? I saw.
But I think that was just a jumping off.
We got the hot
next. You're saying?
I mean, maybe
we got the hot hands like an NBA player.
All we would have to
keep shooting.
All we would have to do.
What's next? Let's take out.
Go to a big hill in Greenland and then just make a snowball and just let it come down and blow it up.
You got the hot hand. Let's take
All we have to do is place one flag in Greenland and they couldn't do shit. Everyone here takes us as a neocon now. American exceptionalism, spread the
John Bolton, I apologize for everything. John Bolton, if you can hear me, please.
And here's how it's different from neoconservatism, because I wanted to make that a clear distinction again. Neoconservatism is about spreading democracy. It's about going and quote unquote spreading democracy in, say, countries in like, for example, from the Middle East. I mean, we've went there and spread quote unquote democracy in some of these authoritarian monarch-like countries, and we brought freedom to them. We have opened up democracy to them, and we freed them from their shackles of like rulers and monarchs and dictators, and now they have a free society like America. And this is not at all democracy. This is more of like the Monroe Doctrine, or as Trump would call it, the Don Roe Doctrine, to where he wants to acquire these countries one way or the other. So this is not at all neoconservatism, because neoconservatism is about spreading democracy in countries. That's why people got confused with, they thought that us intervening in Venezuela was a form of neoconservatism. It was us going there to give them democracy, but instead we just took out their leader, and they still have the same exact system that they had in place while Maduro was there. And what system I was talking about? It was the system of socialism. We just removed the leader. We didn't kill the regime. The regime is still in power. The regime is still very much running a socialist country. So whenever you look at it right here from this standpoint, the systems of socialism are still very much in place, and we didn't execute fully what neoconservatism entails. So instead what we did was we actually did the Monroe Doctrine. We went there and kept our sphere of influence stronger in our hemisphere. We don't allow our enemies to come back in our backyard and have their way. Even though there are some countries, there's still like 4 South American countries that are still very much involved with trading with China, very much so, that we need to address that at some point. But we also have to basically have to, for the one thing at a time, really. But we do have to just look at this as like a form of like us doing exactly what we're supposed to do as an empire. We're supposed to spread our influence, and we're supposed to expand and grow the empire. When people sit up here and say they're anti-colonialism, they want America to stop acting like it's a dictatorship or whatever, and let people decide their own sovereignty and worry about their own home or whatever, worry about America and be non-interventionist. that is libertarian or liberal mindset. To be right wing means you do support the growth of the American empire because you view it as such. You want America to be an empire. You don't be a self-hating cuck who comes to America and you don't want America to grow. And sit up here and say, we have all these problems right now. We need to fix all these problems. We got a health care, Medicaid, the cost of living, affordability. You know, we have all these problems right now, and I'm not gonna sit here and not say those problems aren't a thing, but I would also say, as an American nationalist, we should not be proud and more accepting of our country wanting to expand even more. And more expansion means more chances at growing our empire and extending it far more. So that's why, for me, in an ideological sense, I'm in support of acquiring Greenland, because it's for the purpose of America. It's for no one else. This has nothing to do with Israel. It has nothing to do with anyone else. This has everything to do with the American empire. The American empire deserves to grow. The American empire deserves to be at the top, because we are number one, of course.
Listen, don't take Greenland, take Denmark, and you get Greenland.
It's a good point. The Lego price down.
Yeah, and I would love nothing more than to conquer Christiania, if you guys know what that is.
No, what is
you know what that is, right?
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
All of Christendom?
No, it's a small portion of Copenhagen that claims to be separate from the EU.
It's called a beachhead.
They call
Yeah, it's so true.
They declared independence, and like when you go there, I've been there several times, and it's amazing. I'm kidding, by the way, about conquering them. It's just a great place, and it's like good food.
Well, I'm not kidding.
We could go and take over the Islamic Republic of the United Kingdom, and that'd be a great thing as well. I mean, just kidnap. They call him Keir Stalin. They call him Keir Stalin down there.
Yeah, but no. Like,
my problem with the U.S. invasion of the Islamic Republic of the United Kingdom is that the war would create a lot of refugees. Yeah, I don't think the U.S. can handle that many Islamic refugees coming. The dentists would be in a lot of work though. If the refugees come, we'd have a lot of dentists. The braces manufacturing plants would go through the roof. It would be insane. We'd be booming. No, business is booming.
We don't have to worry about war
sorry, you're actually. I got to counter. You're wrong. They are chopped. Well, actually, I don't know the kind. Like, I don't know if Pakistani's teeth are good or bad or whatever. My point is, at this point, if we were to invade the UK, we would get Muslim refugees. Yeah. We wouldn't be getting British refugees.
It's disgusting. My take on Greenland is that I know people are hyped up with with adrenaline right now, and it's like, look, the sneak attack worked. Like, okay, the Germans were able to take Poland fast, and then they snuck attack France. We could take Greenland, but you better believe the whole world, that would change everything about the liberal economic order's view of the United States. It would not be good. I want the land. I'd love to go to Greenland.
You know, you can go to Greenland. Hold on, guys. I just need to say, I have deep concerns about the narco terrorists known as Jens Frederick Nielsen.
Isn't that guy
I've heard they have a lot of snow down there, so this narco-terrorist, Jens Frederick Nielsen, gotta go. We have no choice.
Yeah, apparently the polar bears are using coke.
Yeah, that's what I heard. It's cocaine bear, but it's polar bears. It's insane. Okay, hold on, guys. In case it is not clear, Jens Frederick Nielsen is not a narco-terrorist. He's just the Prime Minister of Greenland. It's a joke.
So if Trump took Greenland, if Trump issued a military attack on Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark, that would start World War III.
No,
it would. But
it would not.
It would not. China would take Taiwan. Russia would.
Like, bro, you got to realize, France and everyone in NATO just talk. Yeah, the Europeans of us might be more of like they got to raise an eyebrow and they can't turn their back to the king, of course, because the king can just snap at any moment and just off with your head. But to sit here and say it's going to start World War III, that's not going to all happen. No, us attacking Russia or China directly would start World War III. That would be more of like, us of actually engaging in like actually starting a new world war. This is nothing. Now, say someone attacks America and its soul, like a Pearl Harbor type of event where we have a kamikaze bomber flying in out of nowhere. Say it's a Russian plane or whatever. They come in, they attack a U.S. base on U.S. soil. That's the indication of a world war. Or say we do vice versa. Say we do that in China. Say we do that in Russia. We attack them on their soil. Say if like Trump decides to go and like bomb Russia, and he bombs Russia because they refuse to stop attacking Ukraine, that would be a start of World War III, because Russia is gonna have to respond. So at that point, I would worry more about that than us invading Greenland. That's not even of importance.
No.
You know what happens is Denmark would cut off the Ozempic supply and we get really fat and then they could take us.
I think China's not going to make a move if we fight with ourselves. Denmark is part of the Western power.
But let me finish this off. But it would give us an advantage in the war if we had Greenland. So it would be tactically sound if you were going to start World War III.
Invading Denmark would not make World War III happen.
It just gives the casus belli to China.
No, it doesn't.
West. No, you don't think so?
China has no interest in Denmark.
No, it's in taking something. Everyone thinks that's like with Mussolini.
China can't. Doesn't have a cause for war because within the Western powers we moved pieces around. Otherwise, war would have started yesterday. Like there's conflict happening all over Europe and the United States.
It's the seizure of territory that kind of like makes it okay.
No, it doesn't.
China hasn't taken Taiwan because they can't yet. They have the justification, so to speak, from the Chinese perspective to take Taiwan. They just haven't done it yet.
They've claimed forever. The communists have said Taiwan is a part of China, and they're just in rebellion. So they've already claimed the casus belli. They just can't do it. So invading Denmark wouldn't change it.
Yeah, I mean, the backdoor offer that, yeah. I mean, listen, if you guys think how easy it was for Russia to invade Ukraine, I mean, China could invade Taiwan tomorrow and take it. As much as we say we have their back, I mean, if we go and attack China, we would be starting World War III at that point, and then Russia would probably get involved. So that is an indication of like an actual World War III starting, but invading Greenland is not, it's not, no one really cares. So, but there is a good point to bring about this because we did invade Venezuela, Russia invaded Ukraine. So China, technically speaking, if they were to ever invade Taiwan, we can't use any argument of morality against them to sit there and call them out because we did technically invade Venezuela and we took the leader. So we don't have a moral high ground, but we do have weaponry. We do have missiles. We do have submarines. We do have ships. We do have jets. So if push comes to shove, forget diplomacy. We could just go and attack them.
We shouldn't invade Denmark. Okay, but I can say if Trump just sent a bunch of troops to Greenland, they can say whatever they want. I want to tell you guys. I've told this story before, but I'm gonna say it again because we're all adults here. When I was young, I had a friend, and I said, "Would you like to go skateboarding?" And he said, "I can't. I'm grounded." And I said, "Oh, what does that mean?" And he goes, "I can't go outside." And I'm like, "Oh, so what happens if you go outside?" "Well, I'll get grounded longer." "Okay, and then what happens if you go outside again?" "My parents would ground me forever." And I'm like, I don't think you're following the logic here. Nothing is stopping you from going outside. My point is, if the U.S. marched into Greenland, Denmark would say a lot of things that would do literally nothing. They'd say, "We're mad at you, the United States," and we'd say, "Okay, acknowledged."
They send in the Lego off. And
people drop Lizzo on Greenland, it would be ours.
It's worth pointing out that
you do a lot of damage. It'd be like, we don't need to do any of that. We could literally just walk in back. It's ours.
We're already there, guys. There's already a U.S. military base on Greenland.
We're sending in a mobilized dog sled unit. What do we do? It's like
the idea of taking Greenland. Like we already have military personnel there. We are because Greenland is strategic. We monitor Russia from Greenland. It's not like we have to take it away. We're already present there.
As a total aside, someone just commented Lizzo lost half her body. That's insane.
Yeah, and then as soon as Denmark cuts it off, she gets like takes up all the space.
Chris Christie. Let's just do Chris Christie. Chris Christie.
Also, like just from a geopolitical perspective, all the U.S. has to do is just threaten to like cut down our NATO funding, and then everyone else in NATO is like Denmark just.
You know, hold on. I just think it actually would be really funny if what's the city in Greenland? Nook. Would it be really funny if like Marco Rubio just came out and said we've uncovered a fentanyl ring in Nook? Yeah. Just like, bro, at this point, no.
He comes out with mittens on and like a big winter jacket.
Like, my point is the Venezuela thing's clearly not about drugs.
No.
And it's very silly. Like to Rubio and the administration guys, it's not 2003 anymore. Okay, you're not gonna come out and be like, "This is drugs." Just tell us it's
no. I do think that they're actually. I do think they're being more honest about it than anything else. Like they picked up Maduro. That's the justification of the drugs. But like Trump was saying, it's about the oil. It's about the fact that they stole stuff. And there's one more point when it comes to Venezuela that I want to make. Like in living memory, this was a thriving country with a capitalist society. There are people that are in their 50s that remember what it was like. So it's far more likely that these people are going to be like, "Yeah, we want to go back to the way that it was," than to say, "Oh, we want to see another."
It was the richest country in South America.
Yeah.
It was the richest. It has all the oil, all the gold.
That's like being the gayest guy in San Francisco. Latin America.
That argument is what they'll say about Iran too.
But they were wealthy.
They'll say the Iranians used to be so flourishing before the Shah was removed, so we have the same right as we did in Venezuela.
I didn't say that we have the same right, and I'm not making the point that Iran is the same thing as Venezuela. Venezuela and Iran are two very, very different populations. There is a large percentage of Iran that doesn't like the Ayatollahs. There's a lot of people that consider themselves Persians. They don't consider themselves Iranians. And they're having a massive civil unrest there now, anyways. And I'm not saying that the U.S. should go in, although it might be happening, considering what we talked about with the sword with the 160th going over to Europe.
And real quick with the narco-terrorism thing, the reason, like, we know that this plan was hatched like 5-6 months ago, and it's been in development.
6-7 months ago.
It's about 6 or 7 months ago. So the reason they were laying this out and saying this is like purely about drugs is because they knew they were going to black bag Maduro and bring him to the Southern District of New York. So you needed to have charges ready to go. You can't just charge him for being mean. That just doesn't stand up in court. Because we could try. We've seen these courts like screw with.
And it's also worth noting. Look, the Biden administration put a $25 million bounty on his head. Joe Biden's administration.
Did Trump collect it?
What?
Did Trump?
No, what they should do, and I said this. I actually.
I'd like my money.
Look, they should take that $25 million and they should give it to the guys that went in and got him.
True.
They should split it up among the Delta guys.
I'm gonna say this: we should have Greenland.
I know. I don't ours.
I think it is the stupidest thing in the world that Trump goes like, maybe we'll buy Greenland or something, and the liberals are like, "Oh no, Trump's an imperialist invading." I'm like, what are you talking about? This is the history of all countries, of our country. Yeah. Now, if you want to argue that Trump going to Nook and just massacring civilians to seize territory is a bad thing. Agreed. But Trump negotiating terms that brings Greenland into the American fold is a good thing.
That I'm into. I'd love to buy it. I just don't know how what it would cost.
Also, Denmark, like, it's not for sale.
I'm not for people dying either. People got to realize, but I don't think there would be much resistance, honestly speaking, when you look at it, because like their hope is like NATO gets involved. So just based off of that alone, I don't think if they know for sure they had no help, there will be less resistance. They're just going to give up because they don't want endangered citizens dying. They don't want to endanger some of their government officials getting their heads blown off or arrested and charged with pretty much just charged with treason, because like they become citizens of the United States, and then once they become annexed, and then they become a part of become a United States territory, we could charge all the government officials with treason. So that's that thought.
$45
without shooting to kill them.
It's not how we play. It's not how things work. I reject. I despise this. Did you guys